Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 35 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama. Before we get into our stories for the day, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. Whether you are listening on podcast, watching on YouTube, watching shorts on YouTube, TikTok, Reels on Instagram or Facebook, please remember to engage, like, comment, subscribe, share. I feel like I missed something. Oh, review. Leave a 5-star review if you liked it. Share it with a friend. All the things. All right, into our stories for today. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. OG double Karen experience. 20 plus years ago, I was a teenager working a beachside snack stand. Was cash only. Hot dogs, nachos, candy, slushies, etc. Busy spot, I served hundreds and hundreds of people a day with few issues. I always tried to hook it up where possible, especially on the harder to track things like the prepared food. So in retrospect, I had 2 middle-aged OG Karens one very busy day. They ordered a small size nachos, then came back a bit later with most of them eaten, complaining about lack of cheese, making it to the bottom layer of chips. Okay, fine, maybe I skimped a bit accidentally. Of note, they were also being pretty rude about it. Problem was, end of busy day, I only had tortilla chip bits left. Not chip dust, but not full chips either. I made a giant portion of the large size tray with a ton of cheese, had it in my hand, and explained what I was able to come up with. They were not happy with broken up chips and continued on complaining. I had had enough, and without breaking eye contact, threw their free second serving in the trash next to me. Then popped the till, handed the $2.25 back, and said, "Sorry, out of nachos now." The look on their faces was priceless, and they could tell I was not going to discuss the situation further and walked away muttering to themselves, "I hope they are still hungry." Oh, that's good. I mean, you always know that they're trying to pull something when they don't come back until they pretty much have everything eaten. That's a dead giveaway. They just wanted more chips, you're right. And honestly, what you were doing was perfectly satisfactory. I mean, no, chip bits are not as easy to eat as like full chips if you're eating them with your hand, but if you get a fork, perfectly doable. Easy peasy. Easy fix. And especially, you only paid $2.25 for the first serving of nachos. Get over it. I like the way you handled it. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Parking on my property. This one is labeled vent/rant. I had the most insane conversation of my life yesterday, and the brazenness is so bloody funny I had to share it with y'all. For context, my wife and I have purchased a house with some bigger corner property in a German village from an 87-year-old this January. The close neighbors are super friendly, and we get along very well, have barbecues, and so on. In the past, I already had some issues with several people parking on my lawn. Insert get off my lawn meme here. I mean, all 4 wheels on the grass, parallel parking, but a quick towing fixed that for good. Quick side note, I tried to talk with the folks living a street down the road before I called the tow truck, and they told me to suck a big rooster, as they have a party and I should live with their guests parking on my lawn. So back to the story. I was working from home and my doorbell rang, and in front was Karen. She looked me up and down and asked in a quite condescending tone whose car is in the driveway blocking it. I told her it's mine and what the matter was. She introduced herself, same folks from above, and demanded I should move my car because she wants to park in my driveway, as she doesn't find a good parking spot on the road. When I asked why she thinks she can park in my driveway, she explained that the previous owner hadn't had a car and never noticed that she parked there. And because she always did, that I should make space or she'll call the cops. Damn. Told her to pound sand and close the door in her face. She actually called the cops, but that was resolved quite easily, and we had her removed from our property. The audacity of these folks is just astonishing. Boy, it is. It really is. That is wild. Yeah, The brazenness is real here. That is a different level of audacity. Wow. Okay, but I mean, you handled it well and quickly. I mean, she pretty much handled it for you when she called the cops. Okay, story number 3 has a similar title, but it is from a different LP. This one is also from r/neighbors from hell. My neighbors keep blocking my driveway. Update. I did try to click the link for the original post, and the original post was removed, so we'll just have to try to get what we can from this one, and then there is a final update that follows this one that I'll read. Okay, this one is labeled What Would You Do Vet/Rant. So before I get into the update, I feel I need to make some things clear. I've called the city many times. It's not that they won't come out, it's that it takes hours to get to talk to anyone and more hours for someone to come out. Every time I've gotten through to an agent, they never show up. I've called tow companies and they tell me that another tow company can do it, but they can't. I call the other tow company and they say I have to call the city. It's a long, redundant circle. I'm a younger girl and my roommates are also girls. We aren't comfortable banging on this grown man's door every day asking him to move his cars. Maybe at first, but now it's at a point where we very much don't like each other. We all work a lot and we can't just leave a car blocking our own driveway every day. We can't park in front of his driveway because it's blocked with his own cars. It's a small street, so we can't double park him without blocking the entire road. A lot of people gave illegal suggestions like damaging his cars, jacking them up and moving them, etc. I've already filed a police report, so damaging his car would make the situation worse for me if the police ever get around to it. Update, I've ordered a pole and some no parking signs. I've contacted a company to come cement this pole into the side of my driveway where it meets the sidewalk. Yesterday, I ran into his wife outside. I was watching the cameras and waiting, and I asked her to please ask him to stop. She told me she would talk to him, but his family is in town for the holidays. Halloween. Basically implying that it's not really their fault, even though it's the same cars that have been there the whole time. I explained to her that it was a danger to me and my roommates if we couldn't get out of our driveway. That in an emergency situation, like if one of us got hurt or a fire, that she would be potentially trapping us inside our own home. That if this continues, I will be calling the police. She says she understands and it won't happen again. Today, I got home and their massive Benz is just barely blocking my driveway. I decided to park behind them and move my trash cans out to the street in front of their car. So we will see how this goes today. Thanks again to everyone who gave good suggestions. I probably won't update on this again unless something massive happens. But yeah, thanks guys. And then there's an edit with a link to the original post, but that was removed. So let's go to the update for that one. Also in r/neighbors from hell, story number 4. Story number 4 now is the update, also coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. My neighbors keep parking in my driveway. Final update. Labeled What Would You Do Vent/Rant. So I've made a few posts on here about my neighbors that keep parking in my driveway. I will link my updates below. Since my post got a lot of traction, I want to give you guys one last update. So the mods removed my original post. I don't know how many of you remember the context. It's a long story, but for those who remember, we have finally got legal action. As this is now a legal matter, I don't want to speak too much on it anymore. My neighbor's wife found my Reddit post from before. She's been horribly upset I slandered her and her family. Anyways, I would give more context and stuff, but I don't want to get removed again. Thank you, everyone, for your support and suggestions. I would have never got this far without you guys. I won't be updating again due to it probably getting taken down again. So this is the end of the saga. Thank you all. And then linking to the past update, which is what we read for story 3. Yes. All right. I'll never really understand why people feel entitled to park in other people's driveway. It's literally someone else's property. Whoop, wrong button. All right. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Neighbor took our trash can. Labeled What Would You Do Vent/Rant. Hi everyone, I'd appreciate some advice on how to handle this situation. We live on a narrow street where everyone has to roll their trash cans out to the main road for collection day. After the last pickup, one of the trash cans wasn't emptied. It seems that someone on our street took our trash can instead of theirs, probably because theirs wasn't picked up, which left us without one. My husband peeked over a few fences and found that one of our neighbors has our trash can. We know it's ours because our house number is painted on the lid. How can we ask them to return it without causing any drama? I don't think you can. Update. Thanks for all the feedback. Reading the comments, we realized we may have overreacted. Our last neighbors were difficult, and we felt a little jaded from that experience. We also didn't want to make it known that we were looking over their fence, which is why we were hesitant to confront them directly. My husband asked if they accidentally took our trash can. They denied it at first, but came by later with our trash can, along with a story about someone taking theirs, so they took ours. We're new to the neighborhood, so maybe this is something we'll have to deal with here. Thank you again. That's weird. No, you should never have to deal with someone taking your trash can. For one, it's yours. It's very clearly labeled with your house number, so whoever takes it knows it's not theirs. And also, like, the big trash cans, they're pretty expensive for, something that you're storing trash in. I'm glad you got it back. I'm glad they weren't mad. But this is a weird situation. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. My neighbor keeps stealing my packages and pretending it's the delivery driver's fault. This one is labeled, "What would you do?" vent/rant. So my neighbor has mysteriously received 4 of my packages in the last 2 months. Each time she claims they were accidentally dropped off at her place, but it's the same driver every time, and our numbers are literally labeled. The kicker, she always opens them to check if it's hers. Read the label. Ma'am, you really thought you ordered a pink Hello Kitty blender and fuzzy socks with my name and address on it? Last week, I got a notification that my skincare package was delivered, but it wasn't at my door. I waited 20 minutes, then walked next door. She opens the door wearing the under-eye patches I ordered. I didn't even say anything. I just stared until she peeled them off. She said, "Oh, I thought they were a free sample." I'm installing a camera, not even for evidence. I just want to see how far she'll go next. That's wild. I did accidentally open a neighbor's package one time. I knew I was expecting a package in the mail, and there was one in the mailbox. And it was about the size I was expecting, so I didn't read it. It was in my mailbox, so I figured it was mine. And when I ripped it open, and it was flea and tick collars for dogs, I was like, I didn't order this. So then I looked at the label and I was like, oh shit, I opened someone else's mail. I just put it in their mailbox later. Accidents like that happen, but she literally came and got it from your house. She came and got it, she opened it, and she used it. As soon as you open it, it's not yours. If I could see if she was also expecting a package, if it got delivered to her house, you would just open it because it's at your house, you assume it's yours. But then once you open it and you realize this is not something you ordered, you don't use it. You put it back in the box, you close it, and you take it to your neighbor kindly. You're like, I'm so sorry I opened this. They brought it to my door. I was expecting something. I just thought it was mine. It's not. Here you go. Super duper easy, but also they're not delivering them to her door. They're delivering them to yours and she's taking them. That's really weird. I'm glad you got a camera. I do think you're going to need it for evidence because unless she's actually scared by the camera, unless she notices it, I don't think she's going to stop because she seems to be enjoying the things that you're getting in the mail. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Neighbors claimed shared yard for their dogs. Labeled, "What would you do?" vent/rant. For context, I rent a townhouse or a duplex, whatever you'd like to call it. It's 4 units strung together in a line. Units 1 and 2 have a shared yard, and units 3 and 4 have a shared yard. There's a fence separating the 2 yards. Behind our yard is a small pond owned by the city. About 3 months ago, we had a new family move into the unit next to ours. No problem. They never said much to us and were pretty nice at first. And then they begun tying their 2 dogs outside 24/7. At first, it wasn't awful because the dogs were away from where we would hang out in the yard, and the neighbors would pick up after them. Keep in mind, our backyard is pretty small. Then they had to eventually separate the dogs, still keeping them in the same yard, mind you, because they've become extremely reactive to both each other and any person who doesn't feed them. This further limited the space we could use because they would try to bite us. They're constantly barking, snarling, and attacking each other 24/7 day or night. Then they stopped picking up after them so frequently, so now the yard is infested with flies as if the mosquitoes weren't bad enough. Not to mention, we learned that they weren't picking up the dog's poop at all, rather just raking it into the pond, as well as all the dog's related trash, torn up pillows and feathers, dog bowls, toys, etc. I desperately want to contact our property manager and report the issue, but then we'd have to deal with a year of angry neighbors. I'd try talking to them, but all things considered, I don't believe they'd be receptive to it at all. I'm at a loss, and it's driving me out of my mind. At this point, I think you're past reporting it just to the property manager. To heck with the angry neighbors, that doesn't matter. They're in the wrong here, so we don't care if they're angry. Report it to the property manager, yes, immediately. You should have before it came to this point. Report it to the city because they are littering on city property by damaging that pond with all the trash. And report it to animal control because it seems like they are very much mistreating the dogs. And if animal control is not an option, report it to the police. Actually, report it to all four. Property manager, city, animal control, and the police, because you said if you go in the yard, the dogs try to bite you, that is a threat to your safety in a space that you have legal right to be in. Report to the police. The dogs will probably be removed from their care, and rightly so. And you'll have a better living situation. Honestly, the property manager should be evicting them based on everything that they've done. And the city should be fining them for the damage to the pond. That's gross. Yeah, sorry you have shitty neighbors. Let's see. I think we're up to 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think that was 7. Story number 8 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Neighbor is demanding payment for Wi-Fi signals passing through his airspace and serve me with a formal letter. Location, California. Of course. So my neighbor slid a certified letter under my door claiming that my Wi-Fi is transmitting signals through the hallway, which he argues constitutes unauthorized use of communal airwave space. If it's communal. Okay. He's demanding $47,000 in compensation for what he calls electromagnetic trespassing. Is this even a thing? He said in the letter that he's charging a rate of $1 per cubic foot over a 3-year period. He's attached diagrams, frequency measurements he claims to have taken, and references to property law regarding airspace rights. He's given me 30 days to pay the full amount or agree to disable my Wi-Fi and use only Ethernet or sign an easement agreement, giving him partial ownership rights to my router. My landlord says to ignore it, but the letter mentioned legal actions. I, for one, think it's ridiculous, but I don't want any nasty legal surprises. Do I need to consult with an attorney, or is my landlord right that this will go nowhere? Any guidance would be appreciated. I feel like this one definitely should have been in a legal sub. I agree with your landlord that this almost definitely is going to go nowhere. Honestly, it's one of the most outrageous things I have ever heard. But you said landlord. So I presume, I can't tell, wait, is this an apartment? Let me see. Okay, through the hallway. So this sounds like an apartment building, which means you are both renters, which means your landlord, if anyone, owns the space. I believe there's like communal rights to airspace. He said communal, which means it's not his to charge on. If it was anyone's to charge on, it would be the landlord. So he doesn't have a right to demand any kind of compensation for you using the airspace, whatever, in a space that he doesn't own. He rents it. So yeah, your landlord is almost certainly correct. But I definitely would get a consultation from an attorney just to make you feel safer. Yeah, that's wild. That is wild. All right, that is 8 stories and us done for the day. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of Petty Please, and I will see you next time for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. Bye.